This is meteorologist Joel Curtis with your Alaska Weather TV show. Starting out tonight, we have no warnings, watches, or advisories in effect statewide. However, there are some concerns still about some local high water in a few spots. So first of all, from Tok to Eagle area, east of Dot Lake, streams and small rivers, please do keep an eye on those because they're getting some heavy rain up to, let's say, between an inch, maybe even some locations up to 2 inches. Also for the Juneau area, we have Montana Creek was bank full, and we did have a flood advisory for Juneau, but that'll be a flood advisory for Jordan Creek rather, and that'll be ending at about 4 p.m. this afternoon on Friday. So looking ahead here, we've got, I want to show you some lightning that's occurring right now. This is lightning at about 2 p.m. or so from, let's say, Galena over to Tok. We've got lightning strikes out by Galena, just to the east there. A number of strikes in the Alaska Range, some up by the Minto area, and then all along the Alaska Range south and even southeast of Fairbanks, including some in the upper Susitna Basin. And this is from the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center. Thank you very much for their great support for us in the fire weather program. And so now for our satellite loop, we've got, you can see the onshore flow going on in southeast Alaska, a low in the vicinity of Adak. And then we also have quite a bit of cloud cover is formed over the Wrangell-St. Elias mountains and into the Chugach. Also, an old front is from about Kotzebue Sound across the western interior, and that front is really weakening, but it's still been putting out some pretty good rain. And as we continue with our satellite, we can see some cloud up over the North Slope area. And then for today's weather, we have a 998 millibar low in Kotzebue Sound. And again, that weakening front down through western Alaska, a weakening cold front. Also, we have a weather system over Adak, 1,002 millibars, and a front wrapped around it. You can see on the map there, we've got some lightning across the central interior and some heavier showers also along a trough that extends into Canada. And then we have another system, 990 millibars, well south of Middleton Island, and a front wrapped around that that's moving slowly eastward and a little bit northward, and it's affecting southeast Alaska. Then for tonight's weather, we've got, again, that old low now up by the Bering Strait, 1,002. It's really filling pretty quick. The front extending southward and southwestward is very, very weak. Also, a new front has formed in northeastern Russia and proceeding out into the Bering Sea, but very, very slowly, very weak front there. A trough across the central interior and almost up to the Brooks Range, extending into Canada. We're showing some snow over the higher elevations, all the way down to the Chugach Mountains and even the Kenai Mountains, also the Denali area and the Wrangell-St. Elias. We do have a low 1,009 millibars about by Adak. That's really weakening quickly and dissipating. We do have showers across the Gulf, and then rain has moved again onshore for southeast Alaska. For Friday's weather, again, showing part of the story is the thunderstorms everywhere from the central Alcan all the way down into the Chugach Mountains. Heavier showers also associated with that weakening front as it moves a little bit further east. The low south of Dutch Harbor now is weakened to 1,012 millibars, and also we have a 997 millibar low, and that's approaching southeast Alaska. The front's wrapped around it, and it's moving onshore for, again, plenty of precipitation for southeast, and again, that system moving out of Russia. Then on Saturday, the thunderstorm area moves a bit further south, and for the first significant time in this year, we're seeing now some thunderstorm potential over the higher mountains, the Kenai Mountains and the Wrangell-St. Elias, also the Chugach Mountains, also the Denali area, and then again along the Alcan. Meantime, that low has moved to 1,003 millibars just off of Dixon Entrance and still causing precipitation across southeast Alaska. And then ahead of that system coming out of Russia, there is a trough that's extended down into the Bering Sea, rain and mixed rain and snow showers out ahead of it, also some snow showers through the Bering Strait. So looking at our low temperatures Friday morning, we've got temperatures in the 40s, for southeast Alaska, 39 for Golconda, 42 for Valdez, and then in the 40s across south central, including 43 for Kodiak. And then our high temperatures Friday afternoon, well into the 50s for most of southeast Alaska, including 57 for Yakutat, 59 for the Glen Allen, Golconda area, also 59 for Seward, 66 for Talkeetna, so getting a little bit warmer there out ahead of the system, and then in the 50s as we go further to the southwest. Then low temperatures Saturday morning, again in the mid-40s or so, down to 42 for Yakutat with a little break in the clouds there. Also temperatures in the mid-40s for across south central, including 46 for Kodiak. Then for high temperatures Saturday afternoon, look at that, 70 for Talkeetna, 65 for Anchorage, well into the 60s, and that will help along the thunderstorms with the heating from below. Also temperatures in the 50, well into the 50s, including 59 for Skagway for southeast Alaska. For low temperatures Friday morning across the North Slope, right around 30 degrees, and then as you get to the Brooks Range, temperatures start to ramp up a little bit. In the central interior, those lows anywhere in the 40s, and then as you go out west, temperatures below freezing into the upper 20s and right around the freezing level. And then as we get to our high temperatures Friday afternoon, again, temperatures in the 30s along the North Slope, but all the way into the 50s and 60s as you get a little bit further south, and 60s and even touching into 70 for Fort Yukon as you get further south, Fairbanks 70, and then, but as far as you get out west, you're still in the upper 30s and even creeping into the 40s or so. Our low temperatures Saturday morning, again in the below freezing all along the North Slope, but as you start to ramp up as you get further south, low temperatures in the 40s for Fort Yukon, down to 48 for Fairbanks, but then as you get further out west with all that cold water out there, temperatures in the 20s and lower 30s. And then for high temperatures Saturday afternoon, we do have again, temperatures getting into the 30s along the North Slope, but the 50s and 50s as you get a little bit further to the southwest. But then look at the central interior getting up to 71 degrees, Fort Yukon, 71 for Fairbanks, and well into the 60s for most other regions, but still in those 30s as you get out west. Now for the southwest, temperatures generally in the upper 30s and lower 40s as you get out all along the Alaska Peninsula, 34 for the Pribilofs, 38 for Shemya. And then high temperatures Friday afternoon, we're still seeing temperatures in the 50s and into the 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, 43 for the Pribilofs, 43 for Adak, and 44 for Shemya. And then for Saturday morning, low temperatures well into the 30s and even the 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, 36 for the Pribilofs. And then for Friday's Saturday afternoon, temperatures well into the 50s in the interior for the southwest, but in the 40s as you get closer to that cold ocean water, and then all along the Alaska Peninsula and the Pribilofs. And so our 6 to 10 day outlook, valid from June 9th to June 13th. Temperatures normal for the northern sections of the state, but above normal as you get into the southwest. Look at the well above normal for down lower 48 as you get into the northern midsections. And then for our precipitation for the 6 to 10 day outlook, we've got temperatures well into the below normal precipitation for the southern sections of Alaska, and then below normal in the intermountain region for the lower 48, but above normal into the midsection of the country all the way out to the east coast. Well, that's it for our Alaska weather show today. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Starting out with the flying weather for Friday morning, we have some extensive IFR all along the North Slope and down into the Bering Strait. Also, some areas of IFR over the Bering Sea, including up to the Alaska Peninsula and into Bristol Bay. And another area of IFR all along the Alcan, coming down through Prince William Sound, Kodiak Island, and then on over to the coastal sections of southeast Alaska. For Friday afternoon, that IFR persists over the North Slope down through the Bering Strait and for much of the Bering Sea. Also parts of the Alaska Peninsula touching Cape Newenham and then out over the Gulf of Alaska. For Saturday morning, extensive IFR all along the North Slope, also through the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, and into the Nome area, as well as much of the Bering Sea, Bristol Bay, south of Kodiak Island, some into the Gulf, and then the southern part of the Panhandle. And then for Saturday afternoon, that IFR is reduced along the North Slope, areas of marginal VFR all down through the West Coast, some for the Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island, down to Nunivak Island, and then down almost to Alaska, as well as the Gulf Coast and the northern part of the Panhandle and also near Yakutat. So for our past conditions on Friday, many of our passes we're going to mention thunderstorms, and those do imply local turbulence and icing, plus the threat of lightning. So for Anatuvik Pass, marginal VFR improving the VFR, but cells will form in the afternoon. Also Adigan Pass, VFR decreasing to marginal VFR, and thunderstorms expected en route in the afternoon. For Lake Clark and Merrill Pass, marginal VFR in the morning, improving to VFR in the afternoon. Rainy Pass, a marginal VFR improving to VFR in the afternoon, and thunderstorms to the eastern sections of the pass. Also, we have for Windy Pass, marginal VFR improving to VFR, and thunderstorms expected en route, so look out for those buildups. Isabel Pass, IFR becoming VFR, and again, buildups along the route with a chance of thunderstorms. Also for Mentasta Pass, IFR becoming VFR, but again, thunderstorms predicted for the pass area. Also Tanita Pass, marginal VFR with thunderstorms in the area. And Portage Pass, IFR becoming VFR in the afternoon and thunderstorms to the north. Chilkoot and White Pass, a marginal VFR in the morning, improving to VFR in the afternoon. So looking at our freezing levels, again, a very, very complex pattern of where the cold and the warm air, but just think of it like this, that the coldest air is out over the Bering Sea and also up through the Bering Strait where the freezing level's at the surface, also along the North Slope, freezing level at the surface, but then you'll notice that a 6,000 foot contour is well over the central portion of the state. 4,000 foot freezing level drops down all the way through Kodiak Island and Bristol Bay. Some 2,000 foot freezing level over the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains, and then about 4,000 over the Panhandle. When we get to icing on Friday, again, I've marked the area with the most likely area of thunderstorms, mainly in the eastern sections near the Alcan. Look for above 7,000 feet for the potential for even some clear icing. So we'll keep track of that there. Also 2,000 to 12,000 foot for much of the state. We've got a couple of areas considerable moderate above 5,000 feet for the far western Aleutians and also for the Alaska area. And then we have a little bit of icing above 7,000 feet for the Panhandle, including one area in the southern sections. For our jet stream, a couple of lows, 60 knots southwesterlies over Norton Sound. For 9,000 foot winds, only about 30 knots or so over the western central interior, and northerlies 25 knots along the Panhandle. A little bit of southerlies 35 knots working its way into the sections of the Panhandle. And then for a 3,000 foot winds, not a whole lot to speak of, 30 knots out of the Kennedy entrance area and 40 knots over the Panhandle. And then for our turbulence, expecting considerable moderate turbulence over the Panhandle, surface to 6,000 feet, becoming light as you get a little bit further north, and a little bit of isolated moderate surface to 4,000 feet over Kennedy entrance. Fly safe out there.
Huge news, star friends. On June 10th, there is an annular solar eclipse. Here's what you need to know. Solar eclipses happen when the moon passes between Earth and the sun. We pass into the moon's shadow. A partial or annular eclipse means that the sun isn't totally obscured, and in order to see this one, you'll need to be in the northeastern US or Alaska. Just wait for the sun to rise, that's it. The eclipse will peak at around 6:40 a.m. Eastern. The exact time is going to depend on your location. Virginians will experience 35% blockage, Mainers will get 80%, and my fave, the Yoopers of Michigan, will get 85% solar coverage. Because of the way our eyes work, it won't look dark unless we get above 90% coverage, but that doesn't mean that you can't see the eclipse. To watch, always use special glasses, or look online to make an eclipse viewer out of a shoebox and a pin. It is totally worth it. Keep looking up, just not directly at the sun.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining me once again is Cindy Preller. She is the Tsunami Program Manager for the National Weather Service in Alaska region. Thanks for joining us again, Cindy.
Thank you, Dave.
We're talking about tsunami awareness and safety here in Alaska especially, and one of the things that has been one of your main focuses is the Tsunami Ready program. What is that, and how do Alaskans find out more?
Awesome. Yeah, Tsunami Ready is a National Weather Service hosted program in partnership with Storm Ready.
Okay.
And it is a program that we conduct with our partners in the state, but it's mostly community driven. So if a community wants to become tsunami ready, well, the first thing they need to do is get a hold of me or their local WCM at a weather forecast office or their tsunami team at the state level.
So, and this is something that's a NOAA grant, so there's money available to help encourage the preparedness at the local level there in the city or the village.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that have done this already?
Oh, our oldest tsunami ready city is Seward,
Good.
you know, but also Sitka, Homer, Valdez are the, the main players, but we've got several tsunami ready communities that I'm very proud of. It takes several years to accomplish this. And so a few of the things that they do is the tsunami risk will be assessed by someone like me or another scientist will help find out, really what their probability is. We'll create an inundation map, an evacuation map. They'll have a mitigation plan. We will set up some partnerships with the schools, make an evacuation shelter, and then they need to practice. But it is the city that owns the program, really. It's up to them. And many cities would like to have sirens, and so we help them get those. And, and they practice. They have to practice.
Sure. So let's say I'm driving into a place like Seward that's tsunami ready. What are some of the things I should look for as maybe a visitor so I know maybe where I need to go or can be more aware of my tsunami risk?
Absolutely. The tsunami ready signage is really blatant. It's this, blue and white curling wave sign, and there's different shapes of signs that'll show you if you are in the hazard zone or where the evacuation routes are and when you're out of shelter.
Okay. So this is a multi-step process that helps the residents be more aware of their own risk, but then also prepare for when that risk arrives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, many communities sound their sirens daily. Some sound them weekly, you know, to make sure everybody knows what they mean. And there's often drills. We have an annual drill once a year. We have Tsunami Awareness Preparedness Week, and that's a good time for each community to do some exercising.
Okay. And is this a program that is unique to Alaska?
Absolutely not. It's national.
Okay.
And all over the country, you'll have the same signage, so it's consistent.
Good. So if I'm taking the kids to California, I should be able to see something familiar.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And, you know, some communities hesitate because they think it'll discourage tourism. And so I would like to tell those communities that what they're actually doing is they're encouraging responsibility.
Sure.
The tsunami's going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to hit every coastline. So, you know, it's not about when, it'll be any time. So the fact that they're showing tourists that they are making steps to be prepared for this, I think would encourage people to want to stay there.
Right, and that would be no different than, say, you or I visiting the Midwest, where we know there's going to be really bad thunderstorms and maybe there's a risk for tornadoes. We're aware of that risk when we go there.
Absolutely. If I see a sign for a tornado shelter, I'm going to remember that.
Right, okay, all right. So we're just doing a better job of being more prepared with something that's bound to happen again.
I hope so.
Okay, very good. Where can people go again to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program here in Alaska?
Well, one, there is a Tsunami Ready website. So, you know, just Tsunami Ready, and
Google
that'll
Tsunami
get you
Ready.
there.
Okay.
And then probably the best person for people to contact is their warning coordination meteorologist at their local weather forecast office, which is Anchorage or Juneau, most likely.
Okay, all right. So most of the folks along the Bering Sea coast, again, are not at a huge risk for tsunamis at this
No,
point.
they don't need to worry about it.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. But always learning to be prepared no matter where you are in Alaska, no matter what the risk, always a good step. And tsunami is a major player in that, as we well know from events like 1964.
Alaskans are resilient. I really believe in them.
Very good, very good. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us again, and please make an effort to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program in your village and town if you haven't already. We'll be back with Cindy again next time to talk more about the Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. We actually have a group of geologists working for the National Weather Service, so scratch your head on that one and we'll join you next time. I'll see you next time on Alaska Weather Packs.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Marine Forecast. Starting out with today's sea ice edge, as you can see there's some pretty good openings now all the way up through the Bering Strait. Also, I just was talking to the ice forecaster and she was saying that it's really melting rapidly, and particularly some open water is moving in from the east toward Kaktovik. So things are really retreating right now, and the sea ice edge is working on the Beaufort and the Tuxie Seas. So for Friday's marine forecast, starting out with the inside waters, got northerlies in the north part with winds 10 knots and seas 2 feet out of the north. But as you get down to Clarence Strait, small craft advisory 25 knots, seas 10 feet out of the southeast. And then offshore flow for most of the outside waters, ranging from all the way up to 30 knots and seas up to 12 feet. And then for Saturday's marine forecast, southerlies on the inside, but pretty light, 10 knots, seas 2 feet. And then onshore flow, basically for the outside waters, up to 15 knots and seas still holding at 11 feet down off of Prince of Wales Island. Then for the south central waters, we've got more or less westerlies on the outside all the way up to 25 knots, sea 7 feet off of Kennedy Entrance. On Prince William Sound, westerly, southwesterly, 10 knots, seas 2 feet. And then for Cook Inlet, 15 to 20 knots and seas 5 feet down by Augustine. And then for Saturday's marine forecast, again, westerlies in this part of the Gulf, westerly up to 30 knots out of Kennedy Entrance, seas up to 7 feet there, westerlies 10 knots, seas 2 feet in Prince William Sound, and then 15 to 25 knots in Cook Inlet, seas up to 7 feet down by Kennedy Entrance. For our Peninsula and Kodiak Island waters, all westerlies on the Pacific side, 15 to 20 knots, seas all the way up to 9 feet off of Kodiak Island. And then on the Bering side, 15 to 20 knots and seas 3 feet. And then for Saturday's marine forecast, again, westerlies 20 to 25 knots on the Pacific side, seas up to 7 feet. And then on the Bering Sea side, 20 to 25 knots and southwesterlies and seas 5 feet. For Friday's marine forecast for the Aleutian Chain, mostly westerlies and northwesterlies. On the Bering Sea side, 15 to 20 knots or so, seas up to 5 feet. And then on the Pacific side, 15 knots and then seas up to 6 feet. For Saturday's marine forecast, again, westerlies staying in there, up to 25 knots on the Bering Sea side and seas up to 6 feet. And then on the Pacific side, 20 knots and seas 6 feet. For our west coast, pretty much onshore flow. As you get over to St. Matthew Island or so, southwesterlies 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Otherwise, 10 to 15 knots and seas around 3 feet or so. And then as we get to Saturday's west coast forecast, again, onshore flow ranging 15 to 25 knots, seas up to 4 feet and 5 feet in the Pribilofs. And then for the marine forecast for the Arctic coast, we've got easterlies 15 knots over the ice edge, and then down toward the Bering Strait, 10 to 15 knots and seas up to 3 feet in those open waters. And then for Saturday's marine forecast, again, the easterlies, 10 to 15 knots along the north slope, and then a mixed bag of wind directions, 10 to 15 knots from Cape Lisburne down to the Bering Strait, and seas up to 3 feet in those open waters. So recapping Friday's weather. We've got that low moving up to southeast Alaska, 997 millibars with a front wrapped around it and causing lots of precipitation. Thunderstorms from the middle of the Alcan and eastern interior all the way down to the Chugach Mountains. And then some heavier showers in the weakening cold front that's along the western interior. Also a weak system south-southeast of Dutch Harbor. And then a system moving in from the east. On Saturday, that trough in the Bering Sea is going to ramp up some precipitation in the west. Also, we have thunderstorms from the middle Alcan all the way down to the Kenai Mountains, and then a weak low off the Dixon entrance.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.